Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here with a video depotting and repressing some of my palettes. If you did watch my declutter week declutter of my chopping board palettes, you know that these two are being decluttered. However, there's a couple of shades in each palette that I want to keep, especially in the blueberry muffin palettes. There are quite a few in here, and then also a handful in this palette that I want to hold on to. So I'm going to take them out from the palettes today and repress them into like regular kind of circle pans like this. And then I'm going to declutter the rest of the palettes. So I thought I would film the process for you so you can see what I end up keeping, and also like use the fun repressing. So I'm gonna start, I think, with the Beauty Bay palette because I have less shades in this one that I want to keep. And then I'm going to move on to the blueberry muffin afterwards. But before I jump into the palettes, if you're new here, please consider subscribing. I would love to have you in the family. Let's jump into the video. So we have the palette right here, and out of this, again, it's a couple of shades that I want to keep. I have my video with when I compare this palette to my singles collection next to me, and I'm looking at what shades that are a bit more unique. And looking at it, I think this shade here, Enchanted, this shade Wish, those two are a bit more unique. So is the shade Sorcery, and the shade Voodoo too, but I'm not sure if I want to keep Voodoo. I have other deep purples, so I'm not sure if I want to keep this one, but these three I want to keep for sure. I have something similar already to Bewitched, so I don't think I need this one, because it's mainly the mattes that I want to keep. Same with the blue here, and this one here, and this one. So honestly, in this palette, I think the only ones I want to keep are these three here. So again, not too much, but yeah, I think those are the three that I want to hold on to. And then the rest of the palette I'm going to declutter. So I'm just going to start taking them out. I'm going to start with this color here in the corner, Enchanted. So that we have most of that shadow out, and let's see if I can get just a tiny bit more out of the palette. Perfect, I think that shade is done for now. So yeah, that is the first one. Let me go ahead and break it up on the piece of paper. And the clue, or like the best part to do when you are repressing mats like this, dry repressing them, is to break them up as small as you can. So that's also what I'm going to do today. So I'm going to take the pan here, and then I'm just going to start pouring the eyeshadow in here, but let me zoom in a bit first. So we have the pan right here, and I'm going to start pouring some of this eyeshadow in. And usually when I dry press mattes, I take a little bit of the product first, and then I fill up the pan with a bit more product at the end, because I feel like it presses better if I do it in 2 rounds. So I think that is good for the first round. Let me try to even it out in the pan. And then we're taking the little pressing helper, which is just a magnet, and I'm just going to start pressing this shadow down a little bit by hand at first. And if you don't have a pressing machine or like a wash press like I do, you can press this really hard like using your hands, and that should do it too. But using a wash press, just make sure it is pressed really firmly. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do now, and hopefully that should do it. That is pressed. Let me do a little test of just dropping it on the paper. I think those crumbs are mainly okay. It's a little bit weak there in the corner, but I think that is fine, considering I'm going to press the rest on top too. Or should I press it one more time? I'm going to press it one more time, and then I'm going to add the rest of the product. That should be a little bit better. So let me add the rest of the product on top, and we can press it again. Something like that. And again, we're going to use the little tool, and we're going to start pressing this eyeshadow down. So I think for the most part this one is secure now. It was a little bit fragile in one corner, but I think now it's fine. So that is the first shadow pressed into the pan. So that was the first shade. I'm going to move on to the second shade next, which is the shade Wish. So let me just again take this out of the pan. And there we have that shade, so let me start breaking it up. I think something like that is good, so let me find another pan and we can repress again. And I'm going to do the exact same thing with this eyeshadow. So there I think we have the next one. Again, it's a little bit fragile. It's just these lighter mattes, I believe, is like not the easiest to press, but I think that is good enough. I'm going to do one more press, but then I'm going to call it done. And then the last shadow in here that I want to keep is this shade here, Sorcery. So let me take that one out and then we should be done with this palette. And there we have the purple. So again, let me just pour it into here. And there we have that final purple. So those are the 3 shades from the Book of Magic palette. So that is what I decided to keep, and this palette here is going to be let go. So the majority of the shades are going to be let go, which I'm really happy with. So moving on to the Blueberry Muffin palette, like I said, there's a few more shades in here that I want to keep. There's a lot of unique blue shades in here, so I think I'm going to keep majority of those because again they are quite unique. So these 3 blue I'm going to keep. I also want to keep these 2 browns because they are also quite unique tones and I love those tones. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This grey I think I want to keep 2. So that's 6. And I think the last one I want to keep is this one here, which is the shade Hot and Fresh, because I actually don't have a pure silver in my singles collection. So I think that's going to be the last one. There's a couple shades in here that I feel like are somewhat unique. Like, I love the shade Cravings, Tempting, and Yummy. But honestly, I don't think they're impactful enough to keep in my singles collection, so I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to focus on Cheat Day, Decadent, Treat, 350 Degrees, So Good, Hot and Fresh, and Delish. Those are the ones I want to repress. Still quite a lot, but yeah, I'm excited about those. So I'm going to start with Hot and Fresh because I've been doing a lot of mattes and shimmers are usually easier to repress. So I think it's going to be nice to start with this one before I move on to the mattes. So let me take out Hot and Fresh. There we go, super clean. So that is the shade Hot and Fresh. So I'm going to start mixing this shade up. And again, it's a shimmer, so it's a little bit easier to repress than the mattes usually. So yeah, I'm just going to break this up as fine as I can, and then I'm going to repress it into a circle pan. So I think that's good. So I'm going to pour this into the pan and see how it goes. And again, I'm going to start with like half-ish and then press this and then move on to the other half. So that is the first layer. Super, super nice. Again, shimmers are usually way easier to press than mattes, so I'm not too worried about this shade. And then yeah, we're going to put on the rest of the product. And there we have that silver, so that is the next shade done. I want to do the shade Delish because I feel like this is the one that I am least worried about ruining. And again, mattes are a little bit more fiddly, so I don't know how this matte formula will repress. Hopefully it will be fine, but just in case I mess it up, I want to start with a shade that I don't care too much about. I mean, I do care about it. It's quite unique still in my collection, but I care more for example about this one and these two here. So let's start with this shade Delish. So there we have that shade broken up, and let me try to repress it in this pan. And there we have that blue shade. Okay, so that repressed basically better than the Book of Magic pack, so I'm not too worried about it anymore. So I'm gonna start going to the shade Sheet Day up here and do that one next. And there we have that shade. And just quickly, look at this beautiful color story that we have. It's such a like Easter time kind of color story. Like, look at these. Aren't they like so cute together? I feel like they are. Like, I feel like this is a beautiful little six pan, but let's continue pressing other shades. Next up, I'm going to do a Decadent. And there we have that deep brown. And there we have that shade. So lastly, this is what the palette looks like. Those are the 6 shades that I mentioned that I wanted to take out. However, I have decided to also bring out this blue because I don't think I have a cobalt blue kind of like that in my collection, in my singles collection at least. So I'm going to take this one out too, and then I will call this palette quits. And there we have that final shade from the Blueberry Muffin palette. So here we have the aftermath of the Blueberry Muffin palette. I've basically kept all the more neutral shades and the more kind of common shades. So yeah, that is what this one looks like. And there we have the shades that I'm keeping from those 2 palettes. We have these 3 here from the what's it called, the Book of Magic palette, and then the rest are from the Blueberry Muffin palette. Really happy with these. I think these are going to bring some unique qualities to my singles collection, and I'm much happier with these as singles rather than having those 2 big palettes. Before we wrap up, I'm going to go ahead and repress 2 singles as well. I mentioned these 2 as well in my declutter week, and these are in my singles declutter, and I want to repress these into pans so I can use them more often. This first one is the shade Outer Limits from NARS, and then we also have the shade Coconut Grove, also from NARS. So those 2 I want to press into round circle pans. So let me go ahead and do that. I'm going to start with the shimmer shade. I don't know what this formula is going to be like, so I'm hoping it's going to press well. It seems quite malleable, so hopefully this will be an okay repress. Also, these contain like 2.2 grams, so I don't think everything will fit into one pan, but I will fit as much as I can. Something like that. So let me go ahead and put this into the pan. And then we have that first layer. Let's try to make one more layer on top to see if I can fit a little bit more in. And there we have that shade that looks so pretty in the pan. So that is the shade Outer Limits. A little bit left over, but I managed to use majority of the shade. And then the last thing I want to press is this shade here, which is again the shade Coconut Girl, which is a beautiful, beautiful deep brown. But yeah, this one is such a nice pigmented, rich brown. And I don't really have anything as deep as this in my singles collection. So I'm going to try to repress this, but hopefully again, the formula press is okay since it is a matte. But we're going to have to see how it goes. So there we have that shade. Again, we'll see how much I can fit in. Maybe I'll fit in a little bit less than the shimmer, because usually the shimmer is a little bit more kind of like the volume is easier to press down, if that makes sense, because it is like shimmer particles. With matte pigments, the pigments are smaller. I feel like they are more compact. I don't know if that makes sense at all, but that's kind of how it works in my brain. But let's see how it goes. I'm going to start crushing this up as much as possible. And by the way, this one also has 2.2 grams. So there we have it. Let me pull out all the shades. So we have these two here from the NARS singles. So those are the first two shades. Then let's pull out the Blueberry Muffin shades. So there we have the Blueberry Muffin shades. Really, really happy with those. And then lastly we have the Book of Magic singles, which are these right there. So these are the, what is it, 12 singles that I have now acquired. I'm really, really happy with this. All of them press really well. The ones that press the worst are the Book of Magic ones. I'll see how they go, otherwise I might have to repress them again just to get them a bit more firm. But that's just the trial error. But when you dry press, you can always redo it if it doesn't work out the way you want. So those are the singles, and I'm now going to put these into my singles collection, and I think I'm going to get way more use out of it that way. And from these singles, I'm going to save loads of space. So I'm going to save space from these two single compacts. Obviously, I'm going to get rid of this palette here, which is a lot of bulk, and these are the shades left over in here, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we have 9 shades left in this palette. And then we're also going to save this palette here, which is actually quite bulky. And in here we have majority of the shades left. We have 17 shades remaining in this palette. So a lot of bulk getting decluttered, this here. And also a lot of shades decluttered as well. And again, this is all that I'm keeping from those palettes right there. But that, you guys, was it for this video. I really, really hope you enjoyed this little repressing session. Let me know if you like these type of videos, and do you prefer to dry press or like press with alcohol. But yeah, I hope you're having a lovely day wherever you are, and I will catch you in my next one. Bye guys.